According to Colin Cowherd, of all people, he reported on the 15th, that was Monday, if Antonio Pierce gets the job, keep an eye on Kliff Kingsbury as his offensive coordinator. I have a source that told me that Kliff Kingsbury is his likely offensive coordinator if he gets the job. I got to be honest, Soto, that wasn't even in my top 10 options when I thought of like who could be our offensive coordinator. Kingsbury, Mr. Air Raid, Mr. Never won anywhere that he was, Mr. The only time he had a consistently good offense is when Patrick Mahomes was his quarterback in college. Kliff Kingsbury. But now the more I think about it, I guess the more I'm intrigued.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What did you make when you first heard that story?
Well, he's coaching at SC, so I mean, I'm familiar with him.
What's his job there? He's like
he was an offensive assistant or something like that. Yeah. He's not a coordinator because they already have a coordinator, right? But he came in and he was kind of like just an offensive coach,
Here's 6 figures just to take notes and like give us some ideas.
Yeah, but he's looked at as a good offensive mind. One thing that really jumped out at me was he had more than a couple 2,000-yard rushing seasons with Arizona Cardinals. So the team ran for more than 2,000 yards. So people think air raid and well, he had James Conner, he had Kenyon Drake, whose best season was under Kliff Kingsbury. So he's not opposed to running the football just because he runs an air raid.
Yeah. And he certainly doesn't run a pure air raid by any means.
No. It's more nuanced. It's more nuanced, and there's a lot more motion involved.
This isn't Leach 15 years ago.
Yeah, that's not like that. It's not like that at all. There's more motion involved. It's people think air raid. People think, oh, air raid, go deep every time. That's not what the air raid is. Mm-hmm. You spread out the defense and you put pressure in the secondary, which allows you to run the football effectively, but it gives you quick keys for the quarterback. Very similar to like when we the last couple of weeks we were talking about how to make easy throws for Farva is to spread to get 4 wide and to kind of make the reads easier, and that's pretty much what the air raid is. So definitely. I wouldn't say it was the air raid per se, but it was a very similar system that Farva thrived in at Purdue. So he can run that type of system. And I mean, with the running backs that we potentially would have that can both show that they can catch the ball and make something happen out of the backfield, those are two, and we have offensive weapons on the outside. Those are things that are kind of the prerequisites for a successful Kliff Kingsbury offense. So, I mean, I'm intrigued by it. I think it's we would have 2 top level coordinators with and look, Kingsbury didn't do a good job as head coach. He didn't do a good job at all as head coach. So I don't know that anyone's going to be knocking down Kliff Kingsbury's door anytime soon.
That's the thing is the good thing about Kingsbury is if we get him as offensive coordinator, no one's going to try to steal him as head coach. You know what I mean? He's going to be like Josh McDaniels, like he flopped right in his face. And it took like 12 years later, like a stupid Mark Davis to like front the money to do it. So I guess that's the positive is there's not going to be anyone breaking down the door to hire him as head coach anytime soon. But again, he's failed everywhere. Like he's yet to win.
As a head coach.
As a head coach.
His offenses have been good, but the head coach, he's not coming in as a head coach.
And so that's the other part. It's also like very opposite of the offense we ran too. Like it'd be a very big difference. Like we were a run first zone read, like power, like we're running, right? Like we're getting Josh Jacobs, whoever our lead back is 20, 25 touches, and that's how we're going to go in between the tackles, tight ends. Which is
not out of what, it's not totally against what Kliff Kingsbury does. Now he uses a lot. He uses more
run, but it's very different formations. The splits are wider. Like he could run, but it's a very different running style than what we've been. Not that we can't change it, but
I mean, Kliff Kingsbury did run a lot of power run schemes with Arizona. You talk about James Conner being your running back. That he's a power runner. Like he's not a scat type of guy, jump cut type of guy. That's not who he is. So he did run a lot of power running schemes. So I think we can make it work, especially since we have right now at least, we have two pretty good pass catching tight ends that we can kind of flex a little bit. Maybe they're going to be a little bit more of like a H-back type of flex position.
You do what? You do Trey and Davante on the outside. You do Jacoby and Hunter on the inside, or you split out the tight end. Jacobs in the single back. I just wonder if Favre's got the arm for it to throw deep that many times.
He can. He did it at Purdue. That's what he was doing at Purdue.
Yeah, but just
what the air raid does is it just makes your reads easier. It makes your reads quicker because you're spreading out the defense, and they have to show a little bit more. So, given that information that Favre's going to get with the defense being a little bit more spread out and then having to show their cards a little bit sooner, he's able to pick the throw. And it's not necessarily just because it's called an air raid. It's not necessarily you're throwing 5.9s. You're just throwing deep routes all the time.
No, not all the time, but it's a big part of it, right? I mean, that was a
part of it. It's a part of it, but there's a lot more. There's a lot of screens and things like that as well.
Honestly, what I love the most about the air raid is how I think it could transition well into the NFL, because in the NFL you can't practice. Like your practice time is cut to like almost nothing. And the whole point of the air raid is like, we're not going to outthink you, we're going to out execute you. Like we're going to drill this same shit over and over and over and over again. That we're going to do advanced fundamentals and just beat you with that. Like that was always kind of like what I liked most about the air raid. It was just like we're doing the same thing in practice 100 times. And we're going to do it so perfect and drill it so many times, we're going to out execute you. Like you may know what's coming. We just done it 10 times more than you have.
Yeah, it's something a little different. And who's to say he's going to bring that style of air raid in? You can take some of the concepts, but Kliff Kingsbury's been around a while. He knows, he can run a little bit of a modified type of system, I think.
Again, not even in my top 10 guys that came to my mind when thinking of offensive.
It does make sense if you think about it, though. He's out of football, right? He's not a head coach, not a coordinator anywhere. So he's available. He's looking for a spot to get back. Maybe in the future he wants to be a head coach again if he can prove himself as a coordinator in the NFL, which he never was.
I'd be curious to see if he pushes for Caleb since he's coming out of SC. If he's just like, all right, guys, we're going to
push all he wants, man. You got to get up to 1 or 2 at the very worst to get Caleb.
He's like, hey, bet the house, do it or don't. I wonder if he's going to be like, meh, not worth it. Very curious. Hey, you made it to the end of our video. Great job. I know you want more. Go ahead and click the next video. And if you're feeling crazy, go ahead and subscribe.